my sunflowers, my name is Lena and welcome to my channel. TXT are releasing a repackaged album of their Chaos Chapter Freeze album called the Chaos Chapter Fight or Escape, or Chaos Chapter Foe for short. Of course, foe means enemy, which you would either fight or escape from, so anyways, this repackage actually completes the trio kind of theme that we had from the concept trailer in the beginning of the previous album, which of course said fight, flight, or freeze. It's like the 3 psychological responses to danger. So we got freeze first, even though freeze comes last. And in that concept trailer, we got like hints that this is happening. We got them playing a video game where they're fighting, and then we got them literally running away, the flight, and then of course they ended in the freeze. And of course in that video we also were implied that Moa is going to help thaw their hearts. So like once they're unfrozen, I guess they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do. Are they going to fight? Or are they going to run? Or is freeze really the end? That's the last one, and then it'll actually be whatever comes after this album. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look at this release right now. Foe's release date is August 17th, which is luckily very soon. But it should be noted that not only is August 17th Black Cat Appreciation Day, but it's also the number on the door that Bomgyu is in front of in the Eternally music video. Interestingly enough, leading up to this announcement, we actually got some comments on Weverse from the members. One of which was from Kai, which literally told us to enjoy the August festival. I'm sorry, the festival? Now this mainly caught my attention because of course we have the festival, which is the Starlight Festival, which is actually like a major part of TXT's storyline. And like I said in my last video, I do expect Frost to come like at the end of the promotion period for Foe. It's getting me really excited, that's all I have to say. Anyways, we do have some information about the album so far. Obviously, they're promoting it. The title track is called Loser Equals Lover, which parallels kind of like the original title track, which was 0 by 1 equals love song. Also an equation, but also 0 by 1 is 0. Like if you multiply the two together, you get 0, which you could consider a loser, like, you know? And then love song has love and lover as a theme, so it's kind of like the same thing, but different. I don't know, it makes sense. It's like 2 sides of the same coin. Interestingly, when they place like loser and lover underneath their name, which is Tumoroubaitugedo, it also looks like an equation, which might actually be the case. I don't know, that's just something to consider. I don't know what it would equal. I think it's interesting that they're using an equation because they often have like opposites listed and then like put them together. For example, blue, orange, jade, cat and dog. In fact, I've even theorized previously that the cat itself might be related to Abraxas from Damien, which is about like a balance between those opposites, like of good and bad. And I mean, looking at the words, I know it's not exactly opposite, but I feel like it's framed to be as if it's an opposing thing. They're different, clearly, and it reminds me of their slogan, which is different but together. KBS actually describes this music video as a story of young boys who each have their own pain through a dramatization and group dance, which very excited about. This is telling me that their music video might actually have something to do with their storyline because of the pain mostly, but also dramatization. This is really telling me that like that pain, which we know has to do with their storyline, it's like, you know, the shoulder, the cut, the horns, the ears, the heart, the wings, the eye. I mean, I'm excited to see this music video. But what about the song itself? A recent Naver article explained that the song is about how even if the world sees you as one way, a loser, they actually want to be another, a lover who is able to save you. And they have to choose to either fight or run from the world. However, in the title, the word loser has the $ in it, and the word lover has the heart in places of the V, but this article does specifically mention that the $ in the word loser kind of symbolizes that they wish to like make a fortune in the era of materialism, which I guess is like our current era. That's how they would save us. Lover does seem to be more equated to the idea of the fight, like fighting, and so loser does seem to be more about escaping. Generally, this is based off of like the 2 versions that we have, which we'll look at in a bit. I just feel like the escape version literally has money in it, and so it's more about money, but also it could be like going off of like common conceptions about these words. You're a lover, and so you're a fighter. You're gonna fight for the ones you love. But there's also the idea that if you have a lot of money, you can kind of just escape the rat race. You can escape the daily life. You don't have to worry about whatever other people are dealing with because you just have the money to make it go away. I think this ties in well with the current song information that we do have, and I have a feeling that they're going to try to like play on our like understandings of these words, these common conceptions of being a lover and being a loser. I can't wait to look at the lyrics. But speaking of money, money is actually what the AR cards that come with the album actually look like. It's straight up just like a dollar bill. Back in Minisode, we had a whole like AR concept, which in that sense meant like augmented reality, which is basically like a mixing of digital fantasy and reality. Think of Pokemon Go. That's a really good example. It's super easy. Everyone knows Pokemon Go. In K-pop terms, usually this means that you can kind of like use your phone to like scan the card and like get other stuff. I'm not sure exactly what they'll do, so I can't tell you. But it'll be really interesting to see like what they do bring to the table using this method, especially because it's so closely tied to that escape version, like I said. And I have many thoughts about that version, mainly because of the references to like TXT's game world, but yeah, I'll get there. While we're looking at this, by the way, the AR card actually says 100 tomorrows on it, like that's the currency. So that's interesting because it's like the 100 times that they rewind, or maybe the hundreds of possible outcomes. And they're collecting time like currency. It kind of reminds me of Enhypen in this sense, since they do have like the selling hours of dross and just like references to buying their time with blood. However, this could match up with the dice that we see in the Doom's Night, which showed the number 8, which obviously could have been considered like a bad roll in terms of D&D because 20 would be your perfect roll, so 8 in comparison is a little bit low. But of course, if you know the number 8, if you turn it sideways, it looks like the infinity symbol, which is the idea of eternity, their album, which their rewinding could be trying to imitate. The irony, of course, is that an 8 is not actually an infinity sign, just like them rewinding back in time isn't actually creating an eternity. It's just an imitation of it. And I do think it's possible that it like symbolizes that they're kind of stuck in their role as well, like the role of the number 8, as in different roles will give you different outcomes, like D&D. Interestingly, if you add 1 and 7 together, it makes 8. And I mean, the release date is on the 17th. I don't know, just keep that in mind. In the Eternity album, we did get the like official reveal of the ghost, which was of course Moa. And in Doom's Night, Moa tells Subin that they know countless futures in response to his wish that he doesn't want to lose their tomorrow. Moa, by the way, is doubtlessly tied to their story. It ties into the star, which they made a wish on. It might even be the star in a way. And of course, it's tied into their forgotten promise. And in this repackage even, there is a song called Moa's Diary, which is so cute, I can't. And of course, this repackage comes out only a few days before Moa's birthday, which is on the 22nd of August. Probably is why they dedicated the song to Moa, at least that's my assumption. But the title itself might actually be a callback to a line in the Eternally music video, which said, "The Forgotten Diary of the Two." And possibly also that book that we see in the Eternally music video, although that's up for debate because it's still possible that's like a spell book or something. Lame Game Hero, a patron and member of my Discord server, which you should totally join, actually tweeted out that this song is the 8th track on the album, which again ties Moa to the idea of eternity. Which if you think about it, they already are, because Moments of Alwaysness is basically another word for like forever, eternity, infinity. TXT's fans are always there for them, and in the story that is especially the case because they seem to be there even as ghosts, like even when, you know, a dragon crashed down on them and the TXT forgot their promise to them. Anyway, like I said before, as we saw in the concept trailer for Freeze, Moa were there to help thaw their hearts after they were frozen. And since this is technically a repackage of that album, everything we saw there is relevant, so let's just like do a quick refresher of what we did see in the previous album and like tie that into what we might get now. In Freeze, there were 2 music videos, making me think that we might get 2 music videos for the repackaged version as well before we get the Frost music video, which is what the norm was. However, I don't know, because this is a repackage, it might be a little different. Both of the previous music videos that we did get are loosely related to the TXT storyline, but do have their own narrative. In Magic, we saw a plot to overtake the government and change humanity's robotic worldview and lack of diversity, featuring TXT getting arrested, hacking the system, and nearly executed in a stadium. I think that this actually highlights the larger story arc of them fighting like the big bad, just in general, based on like the Doom's Knight. Paired with the idea that the members are all kind of like meant to be different and unique, and trying to remind people that it's okay to be different. We can still be together as one, even with our differences. On the other hand, the music video for 0 by 1 Love Song was a little bit more intimate. It showed their internal struggle versus the external fighting of the thing. Basically, it featured them trying to stay warm as they dealt with their problems and their world froze over. And of course, 0 by 1 Love Song brings us right back to this title track, Loser Equals Lover, because Taeyeon did have the cast in that music video that said loser, but then had the lover written over top of it. The cast itself is a reference to It by Stephen King, but specifically I think the movie version. In the film, the Losers Club are all these kids who've banded together because they're being targeted by this entity, It, the clown, Pennywise. Basically, it's a thing that like takes form of your nightmares, but it is most recognizable as the clown, I think. It's also an alien, and I mentioned previously, like, I think that this matches up with how we see the cat as well, who can also shapeshift, although the setting isn't really identical. But I do think the cat is an alien, so... Actually, speaking of aliens, which I know I speak a lot about, I'm sorry. But on this same board that Subin was drawing on, the other thing that was mentioned as being an alien was, of course, the bear, which we haven't seen for a while. And I really am expecting it to come back. This comeback. Conveniently enough, to support my claim, the bear has a heart stitched right onto the front of it. And with the love theme, I don't know, I think it's a pretty good chance that we'll see the bear sometime this comeback. I would love to see it in Loser Equals Lover. I think that'd be a perfect time for it to come back. But I think I said that before, so I'm not sure. I'm waiting for them to actually show it again, because like, it has been a while since we saw it. The only time we've ever seen it in a music video previously was in Runaway, where it like got corrupted, and then they gave it to us as a teaser image in Eternity, and had, you know, Taeyeon holding it in the port version of the album, but wasn't in any of the music videos. The boys themselves were like, oh, where's the bear, as a joke at the end of their reaction to 0 by 1 Equals Love Song, which I can't tell, like, is that a hint? Is that a joke? Or did they actually have the bear on the set? Because if they did, it could continue over into this music video, like following directly from the end of 0 by 1 Equals Love Song and then go straight into like Loser Equals Lover, but they're using the footage they already shot. I don't know, that's complete speculation and I'm probably wrong. I just really want to see the bear. This is me projecting it onto you guys. It was even in the book that they released, Tale of the Magic Island, very briefly, but it was there. And with lover being a theme, and the bear looks so creepy, but like has the heart, and like how I perceive lover to be, which I'll talk about later, I just think it'll make sense. I do think that it has more to do with it than first glance would tell you, and I'm very excited to possibly see the bear. But if we don't get it in Loser Equals Lover, there's always the chance that it'll appear in Frost. I don't know, it hasn't appeared in a like Starseekers mainline music video, only in Runaway, which is technically not Starseekers, but Kai's pain is his heart. So tying that into the absolute insanity that is Kai in the Frost song, it just doesn't really reassure me that love is what it appears to be, and so that's why I think that the word lover is like corrupt. Anyway, we'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself again. So actually, let's just go take a look at each of the individual albums and see what they have to give us. The fight version of the album features the boys in a skate park going skateboarding, but Beomgyu and Subin also use bikes, which I find interesting because all the way back at their debut, pre-debut actually, the intro videos had them on bikes and they were the only ones using bikes, and now here they are, the only ones using bikes again. Suspicious. By the way, if you guys want like a video like of a throwback of like, wow, the intro videos are actually awesome, let me know, because I have so many thoughts about the intro videos, like so many thoughts, and I'm kind of excited to talk about it, and I don't know, would you guys like to see that? Let me know. But back to the skate park. It might actually be more important than just being a cool setting because of Yeonjun's movie code back in the Eternity version of the album, which referenced a film called Paranoid Park. In this film, a skateboarder accidentally kills a security guard who was attacking him with a flashlight, only to have the guard who he hits with his skateboard fall back into a train and obviously dies. He does try to get rid of the evidence, including throwing his skateboard into the river, but it obviously is eventually recovered. And the film kind of centers mostly around his like guilty conscience, I think, as it's actually him writing down and retelling this story of what happened before he burns it. And this fits really well with Yeonjun as well, because his word was guilty, especially in that album, which also ties to the fact that we think that Yeonjun might be cheating. But I'll get to that. There is a lot of graffiti behind them in this album. However, after identifying like a user, the person who had that username came out and said, hey, I wrote this like a while ago. I'm really excited that you guys all found me, but just like I have nothing to do with this. So I do think that a lot of the graffiti was like older graffiti and they didn't really bother making too many new ones. There are definitely ones that you look at and you're like, so I'm just going to choose to ignore most of the graffiti in the background here, but I just have no idea what they've placed there purposefully and what was already there. But what was purposefully placed there was, of course, the skateboards, which are plastered with stickers. At first I thought maybe it was a hint that we'd get certain music videos that you would see on the stickers, but if you're looking at the pictures one by one, you'll notice that like they kind of have all of it on the board, just like they have all the names and everything. So, however, there is one particularly interesting sticker that is on Yeonjun's board, and that is a cat. A cat with eyes that say no rules on them, because they covered the eyes with stickers, and I just find that very suspicious. I think this is possibly a reference to Yeonjun meeting the cat, which I think is pretty cool. Also, in this fight version of the album, Twitter user Loves Choi pointed out that Yeonjun's shoes do in fact say winner on them. If the loser is the person that like escapes, what does being a winner actually make you? We do know Yeonjun has died multiple times. I don't know if that ties into it somehow. But I mean, if like Fight is based off of a video game, in video game you get more lives anyways, like how we saw them playing a video game in the concept version, where of course it did say game over, but like sometimes you just have like a lot of extra lives and you make it to the end anyway, even if you died a couple times along the way. It's no big deal. And then, like I said, Yeonjun has been seen using a cheat before. He used the cheat which in Doom gives you infinite lives, like you cannot die. Maybe he wins by cheating. Maybe that's why he's like a winner, woohoo! Which might not be far off, because as we see in the Escape version of the album, he's the only one stealing actual gems. We'll get to that. Bongyu, on the other hand, is injured in his version of this album, despite the fact that in the chat he says he thinks he's the best at it, which I assume he means he's the best at skateboarding, but like him falling tells me otherwise. Maybe he's the best at falling. I don't know. To be honest, it wouldn't be the first time that Yeonjun's character deludes himself into thinking that he's like good at something or like is part of something, because as we saw in Drama, like half the music video was him in a delusion believing that he was like super close friends with these people, and then they weren't. And people have even pointed out that this injury is the exact same location that Yeonjun gets injured at in the Drama music video. And I mean, my theory was that he's trying to emulate Yeonjun and become like a leader, become like the person with the crown like we see in the world version of the previous album. I don't know, I kind of doubt that this is a coincidence, because like injury being in the same spot, interesting. But I'm not entirely sure what it means just yet, especially in relation to what's happening currently. But it's something that I think we should keep in mind. Finally, to end this part off, we're going to look at the beginning of this video, because that makes sense. They get like a little animation and like these little like emoticons at the start of each video, and I do think that these were purposefully chosen images. And while I did tweet my thoughts out about this, I wanted to include it here because I think it like kind of tells us again about their characters, which I think we can always like have a reminder about, just like keep it in the forefront of your mind, like this is what's going on. Yeonjun, for example, has a skull, which might reference the fact that he's seen dying multiple times. Likewise, we know that the cat follows him, and two of his ghosts actually have the colors blue and green, which could be a reference to the cat. Of course, it could also be a reference to Moa or ghosting, because there's a third ghost there as well. Subin also has a skull on his, but a heart is covering its face, and I believe the fact the heart is hiding the face is because he's a liar. Like we see in Can't You See Me's choreography. We can't see his true intentions. It's like covering his face. As to why it's a skull, I'm not 100% sure. It's possible that he does die at the end of Doom's Night, but we don't get like a full conclusion on that. It's also possible that he's going to die, which don't we have enough of that with Yeonjun? But yeah, his mortality is questionable. Taehyun, you'll note, also has a heart over his face. And again, he's one of the liars in Can't You See Me. His whole thing here seems to be the smiley faces, which I previously have mentioned that it might be related to the Watchmen smiley face, which is just like you're wearing the smiley face, but it conceals the dark inner self, the dark, what? But it conceals the inner darkness. So that's concerning, and yet somehow fits in perfectly. Kai has several hearts on his, which makes sense since his pain is his heart. One of the hearts, the purple one, which purple has previously been associated with the imagination of Magic Island. We get that in Blue Hour, we get that on Magic Island. Anyway, it's broken. And I think this is a good tie into the whole Frost situation, since I kind of expect Kai to like go off the deep end. I expect his heart to freeze and break. And I'm here for the betrayal arc that I'm hoping will happen. I'm predicting it in my head, and that's all I'm saying about that. Okay, finally, Beomgyu. He has no shortage of hearts, but one of them does have an arrow piercing through it. Arrows were associated with Beomgyu back in Puma, but it also kind of reminds me of Cupid, maybe, and like, you know, lover theme. It goes with him, because he has been marked as a lover before back in Can't You See Me yet again. His shirt did say lover, which, as I mentioned, I don't know if it's exactly love that we're looking at here, but it's like a twisted version of it, but I'm gonna talk about that still towards the end. I'm actually gonna talk about it this time and not accidentally cut it out, like I did with my Enhypen video. Anyways, on that lovely note, let's take a look at the escape version. First off, the escape signs. I don't know, friends, but it's looking more and more like the escape signs are important. The escape version is the flight version in Fight, Flight, and Freeze. But the main theme of escape here seems to actually be a heist. Again, using the idea that money is what you use to escape from problems. They seem to be stealing money, which is the currency of tomorrows, and also food and diamonds, which are for some reason in a convenience store. I assume that's because Yeonjun is cheating. Maybe he's like spawning diamonds, I don't know. You'll note that pretty much all of the numbers that we see in this particular version of the album are a reference to either their birthdays, their debut date, or of course the release date of the album. These are all really common references that we see in previous albums as well, although the birthdays have been heavily like featured before, like on the TXT Universe website, so that might have something to do with the storyline in the future. Not entirely sure, but we did have like the theme that like they were in a spaceship back in the Magic music video, so like the alien theme might be related to that more than just like birthday. But speaking of the Magic music video, this one does kind of seem to continue that like wanted theme that was going on in that video. However, since this is an escape theme, we know that they escaped in Magic. I can assume they probably are gonna escape again here. They get away with it. The symbols at the top that take the place of the recording symbol match the shapes they had back in their questioning videos. It makes me think it's gonna be relevant here, but I can't be sure since they've had these for a really long time, and it's hard to say like when something is actually gonna appear and be relevant. Subin is a flower, Yeonjun is a star, Beomgyu is a diamond, Taeyeon is a circle, and Kai is a heart. There are a lot of theories for like what these could be meaning and what this is focusing on, but a lot of the theories are really broad. The thing is that it's not seemingly just directly related to that one character that has the shape. Like, for example, Subin has flowers. Sure, we've seen flowers a lot with Subin and everyone else, but Yeonjun is the one who died in a field of flowers, Taeyeon's the one that finds him there, and Beomgyu is the one who is a druid and thus able to control plants. None of that is Subin. But the reason that it's all over the place might actually be explained in Can't We Just Leave the Monster Alive, where they mention like in the lyrics that they swap roles. But I can't be sure. Literally 1:30 in the morning and I'm editing this video and I've just realized the questioning videos might be like what they're most suspicious of, or like what they're questioning the most. So, you know, Subin might be questioning the flowers, which we know the flowers are suspicious. In Eternity, Yeonjun is questioning the star and their promise. Beomgyu might be questioning the existence of the diamonds or something like that. I don't know. Taeyeon might be questioning the hole, why the wormhole is even there. And then Hyunin Kai, we know he questions the heart. I don't know, I feel like this is a revelation and it's really obvious now that I've thought of it. Anyways, people pointed out that camera 2 is suspiciously missing. Personally, I think that it belongs to Moa. It's Moa's, we just don't see it because it's supposed to be like you. But we are most likely the ones that are texting them in the concept versions of both of these albums. And I have seen people say that like camera 2 is in the Arcadia version with Kai because it was Kai's camera in that version, but like all of the other cameras are also in that version, so I don't think that's necessarily it. However, the relevant thing here is possibly that Arcadia was a time where we saw these camera surveillance things before, because I believe the Arcadia version is supposed to take place on Magic Island. They're caught on camera on Magic Island. Maybe it's the same case here. And I do think that the fact that everything sparkles kind of indicates that, because they're in their game, which Magic Island is in a digital realm where their games take place. And in fact, the lyrics of No Rules say, in this game, there's a diamond. Of course, Yeonjun directly interacts with the diamonds. And of course, Beomgyu does the diamond thing in the dance. Additionally, they all have roles assigned to them here. Subin is watching if someone's coming. Yeonjun is finding the target fast and accurately. Beomgyu is reading comic books and chilling out. Taeyeon is guessing the password and unlocking the safe. And Kai is messing everything up. Ouch. These roles make a lot of sense. Subin is being a responsible leader and, you know, making sure that they don't get caught. Taeyeon is living up to his whole, like, detective theme and his Morse code, which was Clue. Basically, he's the one figuring things out. I totally support this. Yeonjun is our resident cheater, and thus he would be, of course, the most likely to be okay with just actually doing the stealing and finding the target. And then we have Beomgyu, who is seemingly so disconnected from what's going on. In Blue Hour, he was the one rejecting the fairy tale. He steps on the book as he leaves, and he was a little bit more delusional in drama, so, you know, his lack of involvement here does sort of make sense, if you look at it that way. But I don't entirely know what to think here. He's just, like, not helping at all. He's just like, okay, you guys have fun. I'm gonna be here reading my manga. Kai, on the other hand, just ouch. Like, he's consistently been cut out of, like, interactions. In the port version of the Eternity album, they're like, hey, it's better off if you don't know what's going on. Like, yeah, you don't know. And, like, we've had foreshadowing that he's gonna have a betrayal happen. Like, he switches to the dark side. His angel wings become, like, devil/dragon wings later on in Eternity. We've seen that. We know that it happens. And he is always kind of framed as just being, like, this kind of oblivious, innocent boy. This falls in line, I guess, with that. And it just plays into the stereotype, though. Like, I won't lie, though, it really caught me off guard. Like, dang, he's just messing everything up. Ouch! He's just doing his best. Why you gotta be that way? Like, and what does this mean for the story? Is he gonna make a mistake and then everyone's like, excuse me, am I reading into this too much? Oh gosh, you guys, let me tell you, I'm so excited to see the music videos and just, like, what to expect from this repackaged album. It's so exciting. Some other interesting things in this particular version of this album is that each of the members get labeled as either a loser or a lover. Remember that the loser does seem to be more leaning towards escaping and the lover does seem to be leaning more towards the fighting. Yeonjun is labeled a loser on his choker, which does not match up with his theme of being paladin at all, but we have seen him running in the past. Like, he runs away from home in Nep of a Star, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Like, just because your D&D character is one way doesn't mean that you yourself are that same way. Ironically, it's on a choker, and we do know he gets a cut on his throat and possibly dies from it, likely because the cat, but also in this version he is the only one interacting with the real objects, like I said before, which could, like, imply that he really is kind of like the loser in this situation. He's the one who's trying to escape the situation the most. And of course that he's cheating, which, I mean, on Subin's nails, it's also painted loser. I find this interesting since at the end of Doom's Night, we actually know that he's fighting. He's not really running away. And I do think part of that, like, ability to fight in the first place was because Moa was there to help him along the way. So, like, Moa did help him come out of that status, I guess. I'm interested to see what this will mean for him. And I'm interested to see if this will change, because it might. And Kai is also a loser, as displayed by his earring. Interesting that he was portrayed as a loser here, since his pain is his heart, and he's always associated with hearts, and hearts are associated with the lover on this particular album. However, in Can't You See Me, he is the only member who is not fighting, so I guess I can see why he wouldn't be a fighter in this case. However, from a motif standpoint, I just find it to be such an interesting choice that it's not the heart. And it makes me think that maybe this is a subtle hint that Kai's character is about to change. I don't know. The other two, Beomgyu and Taeyeon, are both on the lover side of things. But there's one important distinction between the two. While Beomgyu's specifically does say lover, again matching what has previously been established for him, Taeyeon's actually says loved. In Can't You See Me, we know Beomgyu, while wearing a cute little cape because of sense of justice, and a shirt that says lover on it, attempts to suffocate Taeyeon. This was also while being surrounded by the color red, which is often associated with love. This falls directly under the fight category for me. He's the one who's going to fight for what he believes in. And part of me thinks that he is doing this out of a sense of justice. He thinks that, you know, Taeyeon is a liar, which in this case was correct, although we don't know necessarily what he might have been lying about and what Beomgyu uncovered, but he was like, in his head, he's doing something for justice. And as I said, Taeyeon's marked as loved here. I do want to remind you that in the fight version of this album, Taeyeon and Subin, both in that animated part, had a heart over the faces, a love symbol. They're both the liars. And Taeyeon, who was previously attacked by a lover, Beomgyu, is now marked as loved. Does this mean that Subin will also be marked as loved? Like later on? He's still a loser at the moment. We haven't seen it happen yet, but something tells me that won't be the case forever, like I said. Like, I wonder if lover is actually stand-in for another word, like fight, or if it means several things at once, which, I mean, it probably does. Or even that just love in general is easily corruptible. I feel like, especially in media, it's easy for other people to take advantage of people who are acting out of passion, just like it's easy to manipulate people with money. And considering that both fighting and running use both of these symbols, we see that neither of them actually work out, and they're easily both influenced and corruptible. They both have similar fallacies, and so that's why freeze suddenly becomes their only option. I mean, the concept trailer kind of already told us this, though. Like, we saw them fighting, we saw them running, flighting, and then we saw them freeze. And if this really does end with the Frost music video, like I assume it will, well, I think we'll have some new problems building up at that point. That's what TXT needs, more of problems, right? Am I just reading way too into this? No. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this video was interesting and insightful and that you maybe learned some things and hopefully are more excited for the album. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you are subscribed with notifications turned on so that you're notified every single time I post a new video. I, of course, am going to be reacting to the new music video as always, and I'll be putting out a theory about that afterwards, of course, as well, which I'm very excited for. All of my social media is linked in the description below, and of course I wanted to give a shout out to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for your support. As it is, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay sunny, my friends. Bye!